Hey guys, what's going on? Today we're going to be doing a quick video overviewing the newest card released into the game, and that is Mockingbird, and whether or not she is a card you should be picking up or passing based on collector cash value or just token value in general. And we're going to cover a little bit on her synergies and what decks she's going to fit and slot into nicely throughout the current state of the meta. So Mockingbird is a 5 energy, 9 power card with the text that costs 1 less for each of your cards in play that didn't start in your deck. And right away when you see that text, you should immediately be triggered with 2 archetypes that she's going to fit into very nicely, and that is Thanos and Loki. And I'm going to predict she's probably going to be in both of those decks instantaneously with no need to really think about it. You can probably slot out whatever you want and put her in, and she's going to work extremely well. And a lot of the time she's going to be a 0-9 in both of those lists. And obviously with Thanos, the Infinity Stones are going to immediately work for her in terms of decreasing her energy cost. And that's probably going to lead you to be playing more of the zoo type archetype in the Thanos list. In my prediction, I think that will be probably pretty strong. You'll probably end up running Kyera and things like that, and she should be relatively easy to get down. I mean, probably easily even just 2 energy by turn 3 if you got lucky with the Mind Stone on turn 1. And with Loki, she's a little bit trickier to get out earlier, and there's a chance that you're gonna just turn her into some of what your opponent's cards are if you didn't have a great starting hand to really get these new cards onto the field. But if you draw well or strategize and game plan accordingly, you're still gonna get your Mockingbird out for very little cost in these lists. And it works out in the Loki list. She's gonna be a very popular card. Odds are there's gonna be a lot of times you're gonna copy her, and then you're going to get even more increased value. And I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing a Patriot token list start really ramping up and taking over the meta. It really depends on how strong maybe the Surfer archetype feels with it, but the Broods, the Mr. Sinisters, the Absorbing Mans of the world are all going to be able to create these tokens on your side of the board that are going to decrease the Mockingbird value, and she's going to come down easily and really amplify that archetype potentially. So with all this being said, and in terms of her competitiveness and just overall value, not taking into account the spotlight cash or how many collector's tokens, just purely the value of the card itself, I think she's pretty darn close to a 5-star card. She's always gonna be lower than 5 energy. And worst case, maybe she's a 4-9, which is still as good as a Black Cat in a Black Cat discard list. So that's still pretty strong, right? And it's just extremely easy to fit her into many types of archetypes that are already existent in the game. And she generally just makes them stronger overall. So there's really not much bad things to say about her. And I will say, if you are a fan of Mobius, this is the best time for you in the meta because he obviously is going to be a huge counter to Mockingbird, and he already works extremely well against Loki. So be expecting to see a ton of Mobius out there in the meta for the foreseeable future. He's probably an auto-include in almost all of your decks at this point, and I would also be expecting to see a lot more Rogue out there to try to steal the opponent's Mobius and use it for yourself. So, with the predictions on how well the card is going to perform, we're going to move on to just the overall value in terms of the Spotlight Cash and Collector's Tokens. And unfortunately, it kind of seems like Second Dinner is trending to all cards being released at Series 5, and Mockingbird is no different, so she's coming out at 6,000 Collector's Tokens, so that's obviously going to be a major impact on a lot of people, whether or not they're going to be able to obtain her, or if they want to save your tokens and maybe get 2 Series 4 cards instead of spending 6,000 tokens on her. And at its 6,000 token price, she's not the flashiest card out there, but she's going to be extremely strong and consistent all the time. So there is definite value in you spending your hard-earned tokens and getting her into your collection pool. I do think there's potentially a chance that she will get nerfed in the future if she's just everywhere, which it seems like she could be based on how easy it is her to slot into any type of list at this point. And her value also contributes to the fact that she is not in the Shang-Chi-able range. So when you get her out on that board, you can play her with confidence and she's not going to get destroyed. So I do think that should all be accounted into whether you're going to pull the trigger and spend 6,000 tokens on her or not. Now, when we look at her Spotlight cache that she's featured in, it also includes Man-Thing and Ghost Spider. And this is where it gets a little hairy and trickier for me in terms of the value that you can get out of her. Now, unfortunately, the two other cards that are paired with her are Series 4 cards, so obviously those are just 3,000 tokens each on their own. So you're going to lose value potentially if you're hitting either one or both of them when you're trying to roll into your Mockingbird. And while I think Man-Thing and Ghost Spider are both strong in their own respective archetypes, I don't necessarily think they are like the top tier of those archetypes and are must-haves and needs, so it hurts a little bit when you're going to be rolling into them potentially for the Mockingbird. And like I was saying earlier, I do think there is potential that the Mockingbird is going to get a nerf to her in the future, just if her reduction is too easy to achieve all the time and only Mobius being the only counter really. There's not going to be enough of a break system on her, so she could ramp out of hand very fast in the meta. So that would also feel extremely bad if you wasted a bunch of keys on her and all of a sudden she's not the same card anymore. But overall, I think Mockingbird is one of the better cards that's been released into Marvel Snap in recent days, and she probably is going to be an S tier card for most people who play this game. So my overall rankings for Mockingbird are going to be, in terms of competitiveness, she is pretty much a 5-star card in that category. I'll give her a 5-star in terms of competitiveness as she is now. In terms of collector's token value, I would give her 4 to 4.5 star value just because of the potential of the nerf and the non-flashiness of the card, for 6,000 tokens. And for the Spotlight cache value, I'll probably put it down to a 3.5 to 4 star range just because there's 2 Series 4s cards in there. So if you get very unlucky, it doesn't work out very well for you. But luckily, both of them are not necessarily the worst cards, so it's not terrible for you, but it's still obviously going to hurt a little bit if you hit Man-Thing or Ghost Spider instead of Mockingbird. So guys, I hope this video with a quick little overview and breakdown of Mockingbird and where she's going to fall in the meta, what archetype she's probably going to be very strong in, the value of her Spotlight cache, the collector's token cost, all this helps you in deciding whether or not you're going to pick her up and add her to your collection. And if you already have her in your collection, let me know how you think she's panning out. If she's extremely strong, I think she is, and she's probably going to be strong for a long time until we see some nerfs to other cards in the future, or even Mockingbird herself. And I have a few deck guides coming out that you'll see later this week that are both centered around Mockingbird and the kind of the archetypes I talked about earlier in this video. So let me know if there's any other deck lists that you wanted to see tested out, and I'll get those out for you. But remember to like, comment, and subscribe, guys, and I will see you on the next one.